Welcome to the Proximity Podcast. We have a very high level guy on today, goes by the name of Will. And I could not wait to get this guy on here. I think he has an amazing story. And especially, Will is predominantly, at least right now, in the real estate world. And obviously, I come from the real estate spaces too. So I think this is really like gonna speak and really impact and strike a chord with a lot of real estate investors in the game right now. So without further ado, Will, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the Proximity Podcast, man. And maybe you can kind of just start out by letting everybody know who Will is.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate this opportunity here to jump on here with you. Super excited to dive into a lot of this stuff. So, yeah, my name is Will Mahan. I'm from the Oklahoma City, Oklahoma metro area. I own a brokerage called Black Label Realty. We are an independent brokerage. Our brokerage is built on what we call the hybrid agent. Myself and Tez Bertha, which we came together and we said, hey, there's an opportunity here in the real estate industry with licensed agents to really tap in. And that's what we call the hybrid agent. What a hybrid agent is, it's someone that's doing both on-market traditional real estate and off-market transactions, and we're bringing those roles together. For a long time, you had your traditional side of real estate and your off-market side of real estate, right? Your investors, your wholesalers, people who are doing subject to, they stayed in one lane. The traditional agents that they stayed in one lane. It's 2024, man, and real estate is changing by the day, right? As we know of all the lawsuits and things that are just happening, it's changing by the day. So Tez and I said, hey, you're doing a high level in the traditional side. Tez was doing a high level on the off-market side. Let's bring our worlds together and let's create this brokerage that's outside the box. We're doing outside the box.
And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't say shout out to Tez Alberta. He's the one that actually connected Will and I. As the saying goes, man, a wise man once said, proximity is power, right? Like, Tez is also another major player. I gotta get him on the show as well. But shout out Tez, man. He's doing big things over there with you guys. So you guys are partnered up in the Black Label Realty. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. We're aligned, right? He has verified flippers. He had his community. He's had that community. He's growing big time. And then, like I said, I had a massive group of traditional agents that followed me. And so we just brought our world together and just created one big fire.
Got you.
Which is Black Label Realty.
Got you. So, Will, I guess, before we kind of give everybody the sauce and the reason why I'm so excited about you being on, I do want to let everybody know Will has recently purchased a small business. So he's done a small business acquisition, right? So that's why I'm so excited to talk to Will today about it. Before we get there, where did you come from? Were you born and raised in Oklahoma, and also how did you kind of end up becoming or jumping into the real estate world?
Man, so actually I'm not from Oklahoma. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. So I'm an East Coast guy. For sure. So born and raised in Washington, D.C. and moved out here. My parents moved out here. And so after high school, things like that, I lived in the DC area for about 6 or 7 years after I graduated high school. And in about 2007, I had my first child, and my parents were just begging me to move to Oklahoma. And so, decided to pick up and just move here. At that time I was paying $1,800 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, kind of in the hood, right? We had a Chinese carry out in the middle of our apartment complex. So it was kind of the hood, right? and so I moved here, man. I moved here and immediately got a 3-bed, 2-bath house with a backyard for like $800 a month, right? So back in 2007. So it was a big change in terms of just the cost of living and the way people lived, right? Because here, Oklahoma is just a lot slower. Out in DC, it's hustle and bustle, right? And so I saw an opportunity here for growth, right? I saw an opportunity just to jump into the entrepreneurial world and grow. So that's what I did. I started selling insurance, like little burial policies to the senior citizen community, like little $20,000 burial policies that were about 50, $60 a month. Man, I just went and door knocked in certain demographics in certain areas, and just grew this, business, this real estate business off little small policies. And so I did that for about 3 or 4 years, man, and just built a really big business. And then started getting into the investing side of real estate, buying houses and, rentals and things like that. And I was like, you know what? This is fun.
Was there like a book or a meetup or something that kind of threw you into that real estate world?
I mean, it was just a friend, right? Saying, hey, I got this opportunity, and I was making a lot of money at that time. And he said, hey, let's flip this house. And I'm like, okay. I flipped a house and then bought a rental and then started getting into the investor meetups, getting into that world. And I was like, you know what, man, this is a lot funner than talking about death every day, right? Because in insurance, my world, life insurance, I was talking about death every day, right? And so it got old, right? It got old. There's only so much energy you have every day talking about death, right? And so, and I felt the energy with these investors in real estate, and it was fun, right? And I just felt a lot of energy, and I was like, this is where I want to be. This is the space I want to be in, and then I just jumped into the traditional world, right? I just got hooked up with some, realtors and started selling houses and taking listings and helping buyers and just doing that whole traditional world of real estate. And then dabbled into the investment. Every year I'd buy a couple or flip one, or, never really dabbled into it too heavily, just because I started building this traditional real estate team and this machine that I had. And so I rocked with that for about 8 years in the traditional side.
So when did you jump? When did you jump in kind of full time to real estate? What year was that?
2013.
Okay.
Like January.
Okay. So
is when I first got into like the traditional side of real estate, and then
gotcha.
Yeah, about 2011 or 12 is when I started doing my first couple investment deals, dabbling into that. But I was still doing the life insurance. 2013 is when I when just head first, I dove feet first into the into real estate.
When did you start acquiring, or I guess bringing in, kind of other agents onto your team? Was that real early on, or 4 years? I think in Texas, the real's 4 years before you can become a broker or something like that.
Oh yeah. So before 4 years, from year 1 to year ours is 3 years. So in Oklahoma it's 3 years, but from year 1 to 3, I just built a sales team underneath me. Right. I knew what leverage was. I already owned my own real estate company business, not really a big company, but I was used to that. I knew how to leverage myself. So I immediately hired agents to work under me to run buyers around and do things like that. Hired an admin, hired a transaction coordinator, hired a couple buyers agents to run my buyers immediately. Like my first year in the business, I understood leverage. But I understood the power of leverage. I was already doing it in another industry, so I already knew the hustle. I already knew building relationships. I already knew the power of leverage. I just needed to learn the language and the contracts on the realtor side. And after I learned that, it was over. I was up and running real fast.
Will, what would you tell? What would you tell? Let's say somebody just passed and got their realtor's license, yesterday, right? And they're out there celebrating or whatever. Like over the next 12 months. What would be your advice to that realtor in terms of growth and just making the right moves?
Find the biggest real estate team, not brokerage or company, but team, and go join them. Go join them. A lot of people want to come in here and do it themselves. It's too hard, especially now. It's too hard. There's not enough business to go around. There's way too many agents. Find someone who has immediate lead flow, who has the support and training where you can go to them immediately. You can call them at 8 o'clock at night when you need help. You're not calling your broker at 8 o'clock at night or the company trainer that's there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're not calling them at 8 o'clock at night when you're writing a contract or trying to negotiate with another agent when you need help. Go find a team and join a team for about at least 1 year. After 1 year, you will have enough knowledge and you will have a pipeline. You'll have enough money and close deals where you can go transition to be a solo agent. Every agent needs to go join a team.
Got you. So yeah, it goes back to proximity, right? I mean, you are the average of the people you're surrounding yourself around with. And I think that's a mistake that I made early on in my career was, and I don't know, I guess maybe admittedly there was like some pride there or like ego, but
Hmm.
I remember, feeling like I'm a good closer. I don't need anybody. I know what I'm doing, but I kind of got like plateaued around like 200 grand a year, right? Like I couldn't boost past that because I was solo, just a one man show. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know what I didn't know.
Sure.
And I literally had to go out and seek the right proximity, seek the guys that were doing $500,000 a year,
Yep.
$1 million a year. And it's not a coincidence. It's literally law. Like, I started getting to that level at some point, you know? So I think that's amazing advice. And, for everybody out there that's listening, listen to what Will's saying. He's been there, he's done that. How many, you said 110 agents, I think, right
I
now
have
that you guys
110
have?
agents in my brokerage right now. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, listen to the man when he tells you what to do, when your first move, what it should be. The guy's been there. He's probably seen it all with 110 agents out there. Well, I'm curious, and we'll jump into the small business acquisition here in a minute, but I'm curious, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have with 110 agents under your belt?
Support, right? Because that was my biggest thing was I wanted to create a brokerage, but I also wanted to support my agents at a high level. And so as we grow, um, not that my commitment of support decreases, but you start spreading thin, right? And it's that power of leverage, right? That I was saying. I leverage other agents and admins to help grow the company. So now one of my pain points is how do I leverage on a broker level, on a brokerage level with other brokers where I could leverage those other brokers, say, hey, Monday through Thursday, you talk to this person. Thursday through Sunday, you talk to this person when you need help and support, but still me be involved, right? Because a lot of my agents are here because of me, not because of
Right.
Susie Smith, my associate broker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they still
Mm-hmm.
want me, right? So how can I
Got you.
continue to grow and support at a high level with me still being involved in the day to day, lives of these agents, their
Got
transactions.
you.
So that's the biggest pain point for me right now.
Got you. So earlier you mentioned NAR,
Yeah.
the National Association of Realtors, and recently, if you guys haven't heard, there was a big old lawsuit that got settled, or that passed, where it changed kind of probably an industry shaking law across the country. And Will, for those that don't know, maybe you can explain what this decoupling was, what its impact was on the buyers and the buy and the sell side. And then also I'd be interested in, like, what are your thoughts on the implications and how it's going to change the game for everybody?
No, I can definitely speak on this for sure. It's been a topic of ours for the past 3 or 4 weeks now. So basically, what happened was a group of people, and I don't know where it started, got together and hired this attorney, or maybe the attorney reached out to them. We don't really know how that started, right? But now you have these hungry attorneys coming together, and they did a class action lawsuit with a group of sellers, people who sold their home. And what they said was, we hired an agent to sell our home, but then we turned around and paid a commission to another agent, meaning we paid the commission to our agent, but then our agent shared that commission to the buyer's agent that represented the buyer of my home. They shared that commission to them to basically negotiate against us. That's basically what their argument was we paid our agent, their agent paid another agent. We didn't know that agent was paying that other agent, our agent was paying that other agent to basically negotiate against us. And so their argument had some type of validation. I get what they're saying. They did pay someone
But the listing agreement clearly states it, right?
the listing agreement states it 100%, yes. And technically, we paid that buyer's agent to bring the buyer to the home, because that seller would have never got his profit unless the buyer funded the deal, right? So
Yep.
we're paying someone to say, hey, come fund this deal so our seller can make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, they created this lawsuit saying that we were working against them. Everyone was working against the seller because we're paying people to work against them. Was the merit against the, or was their argument, and they actually won. They won, right? So Keller Williams, EXP, Berkshire, Remax, all the big brands is who they went after. And they had to settle and pay these big monies because they're saying, you guys paid other agents without our permission, right? We obviously didn't have strong enough attorneys at NAR, I guess, to defend us and to fight this and to say, hey, this isn't right, right? Long story short, we lost. Okay. So what this means is this. What it means is now what they're saying is, okay, we're not allowed to advertise the other realtors' commission on the MLS. So right now in the MLS, we can say, hey, come write an offer on my home. I'm going to give you 3% if we get a deal accepted. It's on the MLS advertised. No longer can we do that. So now we're going to go in blind. So what they're saying is there's no more selling broker compensation. You're going to have to go negotiate your own commission. So when you send an offer to me as a listing agent, you're going to have to send in a compensation agreement saying, here's my offer and here's my compensation agreement for 3% or whatever, 4%, whatever it is, right? And then that's going to be the offer. Now I present my seller with your buyer's terms and your compensation agreement, and I'm doing my net sheet with those terms and your comp agreement. Everything's going to be negotiable.
The seller has to sign off on that?
100%.
Wow.
100%. Because now the seller has to pay the buyer's rep. We don't. So when I take my listing agreement, I'm just putting my commission on the listing agreement. Mine.
Got you.
3%, 4%, whatever I want to charge, right? And then when I do my seller net sheet up front, I'm just providing the estimated net sheet for our asking price and my commission. Now, when an offer comes in, I've got to add in whatever the buyer's agent's putting in for their commission. Yeah, they've got to sign off on it because now it's law that the seller has to pay the buyer's agent directly. It can't go through us. It can't funnel through us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you have a seller that says, hey, Will, 3%, that's just ridiculous. I want to do 1%. Now, that's going to limit the amount of buyers that are going to come to the table. How does that conversation go? Like, are you guys having to train your sellers a little bit, educate them a little bit?
1,000%. Because now, before I was taking listings at 6%. And I was saying, Mr. Seller, this all 6% is not going to me. 3% is actually going to the agent that brings the buyer, right? So now when we go and take a listing, it's okay, Mr. Seller, my fee to take your listing is 3%. Now, Mr. Seller, what I'm going to tell you is it's probably going to end up costing you close to 6%, and here's why. We want other agents to come show your home. If we're not offering any type of compensation for that agent, then they're not going to show your home. Well, how could they not show my home if the buyer wants to look at it? Well, Mr. Seller, you're right. But what they can do is they can definitely push and upsell another home versus ours. And a lot of buyers listen to their agent. So their agent's pushing them one way or the other. They're going to take that agent's advice majority of the time. That's why they're represented by that agent, right? And so we want to give you the best opportunity to get your home sold. And we know the more people come through this door, the better opportunity I get your asking or above asking price. So I need to get as many people through this door as possible. So we need to offer some type of compensation in order for that to happen, right? So, because then it goes back to
do you think, Will, that it's going to stay floating around 6, or do you think average is going to go down or up, or I don't know?
It's a great question. I don't know yet. In my mind, it's going to go down because you're going to have agents like we talked about from the very beginning that just got their license, that needs a deal, and they're going to go put their selling broker compensation for 1.5% or 2%. The seller's going to accept that. Well, what happens when there's multiple offers? You have a buyer, I have a buyer, and agent C has a buyer. We all submit offers. Well, in that offer, we got to put our comp agreement. The lower my compensation is, the better my offer looks for my buyer. So if I got an agent that's hungry, that needs a deal, that doesn't know their worth because they haven't been taught and trained, their worth yet to buy a good, team or other agent, then they're going to go cut themselves short, which is going to lower the competition. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach our agents how to be negotiating machines, and we're going to send a comp agreement for 4% as a buyer rep.
Oh.
Right. So now it's going to cost the seller 7% instead of 6% because we know our worth and we're going to write something in at 4%. This is why I love this. I love negotiating. Give me control of my own compensation, because right now the seller and the realtor control my compensation as a buyer rep. They're telling me I'm making 3% or 2% or 1.5%, whatever it's on the MLS. Guess what? That's gone. So only the strong are going to survive, because if you can negotiate and you know your worth, I'm going to go negotiate 4%. That's what my agents are going to say as buyer reps, 4%. Hey, you want my buyer to fund this deal for you guys so you can make money? It's going to cost you 4% to me.
Wow, man.
Right.
Those are some major implications to the market. And this is this is federal, right?
Nationwide.
It seems like the NAR attorneys should have been easily able to win that argument.
You would think so, right? That's what we're all saying. How could you lose this argument? How could you lose? I mean, they just folded, right? They just folded. Maybe
they were getting paid behind the scenes or something.
There you go.
I don't want to put the tinfoil hat on or anything, but
but it's NAR.
So right? Will, let's kind of pivot a little bit and get to the meat of all of this. And Will, as we said in the beginning, guys, Will recently did a small business acquisition. And I'd like to just start at the genesis of this, Will. I think you mentioned, the baseball team and stuff, or kids sports teams and stuff. So just let's talk how this deal even just came about, man.
Yeah. So here's what happened. My daughter she plays competitive softball, and she's in this organization. It's called the Athletics Organization. It's a massive softball organization here in Oklahoma City. They have teams from T-ball all the way to 18U, right? So it's a big organization. Well, we got our uniforms and our shirts and everything printed at this one print shop called Ron Sports World. This is where they did all the screen printing and embroidering and our hats and our uniforms and everything. Well, over the winter, we ordered some coats for our girls, little button-ups with their names and numbers on them and things like that. Well, they kept messing them up, just to be honest, right? They kept messing our order up. And so finally, my wife went to the head of the organization and was like, hey, listen, is there anywhere else we can go to get these coats printed? Because they just keep messing our order up. And he had just mentioned, he said, well, they are kind of older, and they might be looking to sell, actually. So, we're going to hang in there and just see what happens. So my wife went into the store to pick up the coats, and she was just talking to them, just having casual conversation. And she just said it. She's like, hey, so I heard that you guys might be looking to sell your business. And this business has been around for 40 plus years. It's a well-established business.
I love it.
They're boomers. They're just getting old. And to be honest, they were dropping the ball on some things. But they had a well-established business for about 40 years. Well-known name, tons of accounts. And the son kind of heard, and the son came out. It was a family business, right? So a lot of their family works there. It's like, actually, mom and dad might be looking to really sell this business. They're looking to retire, but we want to sell it to the right people. That's why we haven't really advertised it yet. And so my wife came back and told me. I said, you know what? Let's pursue it. Let's just see what happens, right? Let's not be too aggressive with it. Let's not have it consume us, but let's just pursue it and just see what happens, right?
So Will, when she brought it up to you, she came home and had this kind of bit of news and information for you. Like, was your first reaction like, this is crazy, or like, this is interesting, or like, what were you thinking?
So I will tell you this. A year ago, I'd have said, you're crazy. I'm not interested in buying businesses. I'm in the real estate business. We made a lot of money in this lane. Why would we ever look outside of this lane? Right.
Right.
Now as a true business owner, and being aligned with Tez and doing a lot of off-market stuff, creative stuff, outside the box stuff, my mind is open more, because I know that with leverage that we can do more. Right. And so I thought, At first I thought it was a little crazy, and I was like, I don't know. But then the more I thought about it, a couple hours later, I went back to her. I said, you know what? Let's just look at their numbers. Let's look at their financials and just see, right? And then, so we did, and we looked at their numbers, and then and then they gave me their price, and I was like, well, that's not going to happen, right? I mean, I'm not paying that much for this business, and I don't even know how to buy a business, right? So like, no. So it's like, I don't even know how to buy this business, And so I took a pause on it for a couple of weeks, and I was like, I don't know how to buy a business. This price tag is way too high. I don't have that much cash. I don't want to spend that much cash. I don't want to have to leverage out so much stuff and spread myself thin because I'm trying to grow a real estate business right now. And so I don't know, right? Until the real estate got brought up. So they own their own building, right? They own it, and they own it outright. And that came up through conversation, through their numbers, and just us talking to them very, very casually. That piqued my interest. I said, okay, so you own this building and you own it outright. Yeah, we do. We've owned this building for 40 plus years and we don't have a mortgage on it. I said, now we're talking, right? Now we're talking my world, which is commercial, which is real estate, and it's a commercial building. And I'm like, even if I let the business go, I've got an asset, right? Period, right? And so
for sure.
Then my interest really peaked at that point. Then they said, well, we have about $80,000 worth of equipment, and it all works and it's operational. And interesting. So now I have commercial asset and I've got commercial equipment that actually operates that I could sell if I needed to, right? So now I got two assets so then the whole business thing really, I started wrapping my brain around this more, right? And started digging into it a little bit more and thought, I think I can make something happen here, even if it was just acquiring the real estate and the equipment. And so, so then I really started digging more deep into their numbers and really talking to my accountant and my tax guy and just other business people in my proximity, other people that I know that are business owners that own multiple businesses. Took them to lunch, went and smoked a cigar with a couple of them, and just really started talking to people, about business in general, right? Owning businesses and selling businesses and selling assets and just, running a business, and just to see if it was something that I could do while I continued to run my real estate business, right? And so I leveraged some of those guys. And, about 30 days into it, I was like, you know what, this might be a good idea.
Man.
So then,
and
the next thing was like, how do I do it?
That's what I was about to ask you. Like, I have, obviously I have my community and there's a lot of people that come in and ask, of course, a ton of questions and stuff like that. But what the major props here is, you got somebody like Will who says, I don't know how I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to go out and get it done. And that's the mark of a beast right there, man. Seriously.
Yeah. Appreciate that. So my next thing was like, how do I get this done? And when I looked at their books, they were making money. Like they were making money and they were so behind in time. They didn't have, a lot of the technology and systems and things like that to continue to grow this business where it could have grown. And I was like, there's a lot of opportunity here once I saw their books, right? So I said, okay, how can I do this? So I didn't want to, obviously, just to throw numbers out there. They were asking 700,000. I offered them 5 and said, listen, I think I can make this happen at 5, even if I have to pull all my resources together to do it. I think this is a better number for me. And looking at your books and talking to my accountant and things like that, this number makes more sense for me. And they agreed to it. So I said, okay, how can I make this happen? So being in the real estate business, being around Tez, Albertha, in the whole creative financing world, and just, being around them, I said, all right, let me figure this out. They own the building and they own about $80,000 of real estate, and the building was worth $250,000. Okay. They just had an appraisal on it because they did some financing stuff about a year ago. And talking to my commercial realtor contacts, that was about right. So the buildings were $250,000. They had about $80,000 worth of equipment. They sent me all the VIN numbers to the equipment. We Googled them and researched them, and looked up used units of these particular machines, these printing machines, and it was about an accurate valuation for those machines as well. So here's what I did. I went to my bank and said, hey, can I get a commercial loan for like to purchase a building? And would you have anything that I can add in equipment for, like an equipment loan rolled into this purchase of a building? And this smaller bank I had a relationship with said, sure, absolutely. So I sent them all my financials, everything like that. And so they said, listen, here's what we can do. We'll loan you the money for the building at $250 as long as it appraised, and we'll roll in $75,000 for the equipment. We'll give you $75,000, for the equipment. So, at $250 plus the $75,000, the bank was going to loan me $325,000. Okay, so I said, what can I do to come up with the remainder of the $175,000? I didn't want to use my own money for it, right? I didn't want to stretch myself thin. So being around the creative financing guys, it boom hit me, owner finance. So went and sat down with the owner, said, here's my offer. I'm gonna offer you $500,000, but I'm gonna give you $325,000 up front because I'm gonna close on your building and I'm gonna own the building and the equipment. They're going to be my assets. I'm going to own it. So the bank's going to loan that to me. So I'm going to hand you $325,000 at closing. Then what I like to do is I like to owner finance the remaining $175,000 on a 15-year term, 6% interest with a 5-year balloon. Got my payments down to like $800 or whatever it is a month, right? And I said, what this allows you to do is tax reasons. You're not having to spend a bunch of taxes on the $500,000 and things like that. And you, mom and dad, are going to be able to have some cash flow in every month just to pay, just whatever. And they loved the idea, right? And so that's how I put it together, right? So I went to the bank.
You got, what is that, 30? Is it 35% owner financing? You said so 175 is what they held back for you?
Yeah.
Divided by the $500 purchase price. Yeah, 35% owner financing.
Yeah.
That's sweet, bro. Seriously. That's awesome right there.
Yeah. So basically I came to the table with 50 grand, right? Because the only down payment money I had was the 20% down of the 250, not the 325 equipment loan. Just
the bank required you to put 50, right?
The bank required me to put 50 down, but again, that's going towards my asset of my, the building anyway, right? So it's like whatever, right? I mean, so basically, I bought a $500,000 business that's cash flowing, that's grossing about $30K a month for $50K down, basically.
Sheesh. Will, that is insane, bro. That's sick, bro. I'm gonna have to start looking at businesses in Oklahoma. No, I'm just playing. No, honestly, like I see a lot of numbers. I see a lot of businesses that those numbers, like, just to kind of give you context, right? Those are above average numbers, bro. Like those are sick numbers. Like, job well done on that, bro. Good job on that. It's not like you hit an average deal. You didn't get a single or a double. That's like a triple/home run right there, bro. Seriously.
Nice.
So I have a question, Will, and this might really resonate with a lot of real estate investors out there. Rapport building, right? We talk a lot, especially, you with 110 agents, everybody in real estate, we're constantly talking about rapport building and getting to people to trust you. How different is it, if at all? Is it harder? Is it easier? Is it exactly the same? Like, what is the difference in those two, homeowner versus business owner building rapport?
Man, it's honestly the same concept, but it's different. It's different conversations. It's different timing in a, like, I don't want to use the word aggressiveness, but being more forward. Meaning this: if I'm looking at acquiring a real estate property, I know I've got some competition there. I know I've probably got 10 or 15 agents that might be calling and trying to get that deal as well. So I need to be quick. I need to be more direct. Do I build a relationship? Yes, but it's on a shorter, quicker term, in and out, things like that. Where on the business side, majority of the business owners have some type of entrepreneur mindset, and they're not they don't have a ton of emotional commitment to that business like they do their home. Like, a lot of people, like, that's their home. Their kids grew up there. They have memories and things like that. Business owners do, but it's a little bit different, right? And and you guys know this way more than me, but just my interaction with these business owners, they weren't looking to make a decision right now. It was a little bit more of a nurture. It was a little bit more of especially on the owner finance side. I felt like they had to really know me, and I really had to get to know them and their families and things like that. That's why I said it took me about 30 days to really just build a relationship, because I wanted them to feel like I didn't have to buy their business, and I wasn't hounding them about buying their business. I wanted them to be more of wondering, is this guy going to call me back? Should we call him? You know,
were they following up with you more than you were following up with them?
100%.
Yeah,
100% they were, right?
And you don't get that with homeowners, right?
No. Because a homeowner knows someone else is going to come right behind me and, want to sell their home or try to call them and buy it as well, right? They know that. There ain't too many people buying businesses.
Nope. We have this saying in the community. It says houses are like fajitas, right? You can put them on the grill, 500 degrees, and about 10 minutes, you got some sizzling fajitas ready to eat. Yeah. Businesses are like brisket. It's low and slow. You got to slow cook it, 225, 18 hours. So I think that's that timing that you're talking about, right? That pace is a little different there.
Yes, the pace is definitely different. The overall concept is the same. The pay, because people do business people buy and do business with people they know, like, and trust. That's just in general, right? Absolutely. That's in any industry and anything, and that's just life in general, right? So you still have to build a rapport. You still have to be likable. You still got to be trustworthy, especially with the creative financing, the owner finance side of it.
For sure,
they've got to know that you're going to pay them, right? Because here's the thing about this deal: I bought every asset that they owned. I own that now. So on the 175, they couldn't come. Like, if I defaulted on that, I never would. But if I defaulted, they don't have any leverage. Their leverage is gone.
Yep.
Well, here's what I did. Just to make them feel comfortable, I had my accountant / my tax guy. He's a beast. He wrote my owner financing document for me. But in that, and I don't know the exact verbiage, but the verbiage is something like, if I was to default on this 175, $800 a month payment, $700 payment, that I would forfeit and waive all of my legal action, and I would forfeit the business back to them. Basically, it says something like that.
Kind of like an owner finance on a house.
Because I own the asset, so they couldn't come foreclose on me because they have no right to that home. But if I owner finance my own home, I'm still on the deed, so I can go foreclose on it. They're off the deed, so they couldn't come back and do anything. And I own the equipment, so they couldn't even come back and take that. So I had to put some type of verbiage showing them that I'm not going to default, because if I do, I waive all my rights to legal action, and you guys can, basically have the business back. Something along those lines, right?
Right.
But I'm so confident that at a $700 payment for $175,000, I mean, if something ever happened, I'll just write him a check or something, right?
That $700 is probably what we spend nowadays in subscriptions for Netflix and YouTube.
Right? That's what say. Like, I'm good. I'm not going to default on that, right?
So Will, can I ask you, man? Man, first of all, again, congrats on that, man. I love to hear that, especially coming from a real estate beast, man. Now that the dust is kind of quote unquote, settled from the transaction, are your eyes, have they become more open to other opportunities in the business acquisition world?
Yeah, 1,000%. What's funny is, this just happened to me a couple of days ago. Agent came to me and said, "Hey, I might be, bringing on someone to my team. They actually owned a coffee shop in town." And I said, "They what now? So they're coming to your team, but they own a coffee shop now?" "Yeah." "Well, what are they going to do with their coffee shop?" "Well, they're trying to sell it. All they want to do is get this amount just for the equipment and all that, because they don't own the space." And I was like, you mind if I talk to her about that? So it's like where before it would have just blew right over my head of, let's get it right over and let's sign her up for be a realtor and whatever. It'd have blown right over my head. Now it's like, opportunity. Wait, she has a coffee business?
Right.
A lot of margins
right.
in coffee. A lot of margins in coffee.
Exactly. No, that's like kind of been my mission and my goal is to coming from the real estate investing world myself. I've done maybe 600 or 700 transactions, but also being a CPA, it's kind of like I've been trying to preach to our community, our real estate community, that you're leaving gold on the table if you simply say, I do real estate and I'm going to keep my head down and I'm never going to look at anything else.
Yep.
Right. Like
Yep.
add that tool to your tool bag, because you can't build an entire empire with just a hammer in your tool bag.
100%.
Right. You have to be able to be diverse here. And, something interesting, that Will and I were chatting about before the show was, with him being a major player and a big broker, what does that business broker acquisition opportunity look like? Like, do you think there's some opportunities in that space?
Yeah, 100%. As we discussed a little bit ago, that NAR settlement, there's going to be a lot of agents that can't negotiate their own commission. There's going to be a lot of agents that are going to be exiting the business. What that's going to do is it's going to shrink these brokerages, especially the small independent brokerages, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to shrink their numbers and they're not going to be able to survive. They're going to starve out, right? And so the people who are, moving up in the ranks in the industry and who have a big agent count and that are teaching their agents to go be beasts and negotiate their own, deals and, go negotiate 4% commission. These companies are going to continue to rise. And so there's going to be a lot of opportunity to come and start scooping up some of these small little businesses. They still have agents, right? They still have resources.
Sure.
They're a broker. They still have, right? And so that's a big, for me, having your broker's license is a huge asset to a small brokerage, because now, again, remember the leverage thing. I need agents to be able to go ask questions, but they have to ask them to a broker. And so we need brokers, to leverage. So when you acquire these businesses, these small brokerages, there's brokers involved, right? So now you're getting another asset.
Man, and I think there's a big play in that industry as well. Yeah. Like you said, with that NAR whole settlement thing, there's gonna be the cream will rise to the top. And I think we've been in a period over the last 10, 15 years where it was almost like you just threw your hand in the real estate game and you could almost not fail.
Sure.
Right. Like you're gonna win. But now it's like the tables are turning and it's like, no, you're gonna have to actually be a beast if you want to thrive moving forward.
Yeah, because guess what? If the seller doesn't pay your commission, guess who has to pay it? The buyer. And you better have a very well value proposition statement and know your worth and can sell it to someone for them to be able to pay you for your services. We're the only industry in the service industry that a client doesn't pay their agent directly on the buying side, right?
That's
so like an attorney, you pay your attorney a fee. Your doctor, you pay them a fee. Your accountant, your CPA, you pay them a fee. Well, in real estate, you can work with a buyer's agent and not pay them a dime, right?
Wow,
that's changing.
Interesting.
That's changing. You're gonna have to start paying them. But if you're scared to ask your buyer to pay you, and you're not skillful enough to be able to articulate your worth and why they should be paying you a fee, then you're gonna fizzle out of this business.
Sheesh. And Will's gonna be right there to scoop it up.
Scoop it all up. Scoop it all up, because we're teaching you how to be a beast at Black Label. Like, how
Will, can I ask you, man, what would be your advice to all the real estate investors? Some of them are probably newbies. Some of them are a little more mature in their real estate investing journey, maybe doing 5 to 10 deals a month, even, some a little less, some a little more. But what would be your kind of advice or your words and thoughts to them regarding the world of small business acquisition, the outlook of it, the influx of baby boomers that are retiring 10,000 every day? Like, what would be some of your words to these guys so they can kind of understand it firsthand from somebody?
Yeah, like, just diversify yourself, right? I mean, we all know this. This is not a secret that the multi-millionaires and billionaires out there are not just in one lane, right? They have so many different businesses that they own, but even the ones they own, 99% of them, they're not even hands-on in. They have some type of ownership or, whatever in them, right? And so you like Tony Robbins, I follow him a lot. I think he owns like 350 businesses, and it might be more than that. It's an astronomical amount of businesses he's owned, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to diversify yourself. You've got to start leveraging in order to grow. When you leverage, you grow. When you leverage, you grow. I always had that mindset of if I got to pay people to leverage, you got to spend money to leverage, right? Like you either got to hire agents and split commissions, or you've got to pay an admin, or you got to pay a CPA, or you got to pay things. But the reality is, if you leverage that, you will grow and grow and grow the more you leverage. So owning businesses is leverage to get you to that next tax bracket, to get you to that next zero, that next comma, right? So my mind's open. It's real. I just did it, and I didn't even really know what I was doing, and I just did it. Right? And obviously, you said that I did a great job in terms of that, and I didn't even know what I was doing. Could you imagine if I actually have some skill set in acquiring businesses and actually learn? Like I learn that craft, like I've mastered and learned the real estate craft. That's another thing, right? You've got to master a craft, right? So it's like you can't just go wing it. You've got to master it, because once you master something, then you can go master something else. But if you don't master something, it's hard to move on to something else, because you're not even really good at what you're doing, and like to begin with, right?
Correct.
Like, if I can learn this and master it, man, sky's the limit on.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, Will. And offline, we'll be catching up together some more, but we can talk about direct marketing strategies, off market strategies, like a bunch of, and it's all the same, man. The way we pull lists in real estate and just do our outreach to these guys, it's the same exact thing.
It's the same, right? So why can't we just add it into our daily activities and our systems? And everyone needs to build a system in their daily activities. Just add it in, right? So instead of sending 1,000 mailers to a neighborhood, I'm gonna send 250 mailers to businesses.
Yep. And I think our direct mail response KPIs is floating around like close to 10%, like 9 point something. So
and here's another thing: business owners answer their phone, right? And they look at their mail. Man.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
emails, hard mail, cold calling, all of it. It's so much more accessible because you're in the B2B space. You're not in the B2C space anymore.
Right. And they don't want to miss something.
Consumer protection laws. There's no such thing as a business protection law.
Oh, yeah. See, that's fire right there. That alone is fire.
So, Will, where can people find you, man? You on Instagram, Facebook, email?
Yeah, man, I am. They can just Google my name. It's under William Mahan on Facebook. You can just search my name. But yeah, Instagram as well. It's just my name. So Facebook, Instagram,
and throw a little plug out for Black Label Realty and also your print shop as well, man.
Yeah, so Black Label Realty, like I said, we are, we're an independent brokerage here in Oklahoma City. We, we're a hybrid agent model. We're very outside the box. We allow you to go out and wholesale, find your own deals, do the off-market world. But we're also teaching you the skill set to go get traditional listings and work with buyers and negotiate, as well. We're bringing both those roles together. And then Ron Sports World, that's the printing shop that, that I just acquired. And we do everything. T-shirts. I printed this T-shirt. So we do screen printing. We do hat embroidering. We do uniforms. We do Letterman coats. Anything screen printing, embroidering, shirts, jackets, uniforms. We do it all. We do it all. So been around for 40 years.
Awesome. Man, that's amazing. What's amazing, Will, and I was thinking about this yesterday, is if you were to start a print shop today, there's no way in a relatively short amount of time you could cultivate 40 years of goodwill, good name, relationships, everything like that. But in a matter of a day of closing documents, you literally bought 40 years worth of time. That's powerful.
And accounts.
Yeah.
That extra 175 that I owner finance was for their accounts. It wasn't for anything other than I already bought the building equipment. It was for their accounts and their name. That was it. Their accounts and their name.
Yep. You bought 40 years in a day like that. Like you bought time, bro. Like that's the mind-blowing thing. We bought time here. That's crazy, man. So Will, listen, this has been a fire conversation, brother. Seriously, man. Like I got a lot of respect for what you're doing, what Tez is doing, both of y'all are doing. I want you guys to come down to Houston at some point. We'll go out, have some good, some barbecue or a steak or something, man. Chat a little bit more about these businesses and go buy 10, 15, 20 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to stop just at one. Right. No. So more than happy. I'm looking forward to that, guys. For everybody out there, if y'all are interested, you can always reach me on Instagram at allday.cj. I do try to monitor the inbox as much as I can, or you can go to wholesalingbusinesses.com. You can reach out to me there as well. I'm trying to be as accessible as I can, guys, but Will is the perfect example of a real estate investor who used every single skill that he learned in real estate and simply applied it to an unsaturated market in the small business acquisitions world. And it paid off handsomely to the tune, if I'm not mistaken, of $30,000 a month in cash flow. Like that's hard to do with a single family rental. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. 100%.
So Will, appreciate it, man. I look forward to chatting with you a little bit more, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.